So thanks for joining us today. This is an introduction call for educators and instructors who are interested in the Autodesk Building Performance Analysis Certificate program that we're launching tomorrow. And we're really excited to tell you a lot more about it. So here's what we're going to cover on the call today. We'll do a welcome, and then we'll sort of talk to you about why we created this course, what's covered, how the course works, and what next steps are if you'd like to use it with your students. And then we'll have plenty of time, hopefully, at the end for question and answer. That said, there's also a mechanism for you to ask questions along the way. I think there's both a question and answer functionality as well as a chat functionality. I've heard in the past that sometimes people don't get the chat functionality, but if you do have the chat functionality, please try to use that because then everyone can sort of see the dialogue. If it is a question that you'd like to direct specifically to us here at Autodesk, you can enter into the Q&A, and we'll be moderating that as we go. And we'll be addressing questions as appropriate as they come up. Okay, so let's get started. Here's who we are. I'm Adam Mentor. My job at Autodesk is to create educational programs around sustainable design. My background is in mechanical engineering. I'm relatively new to building science and building design, but I've really enjoyed doing this work over the past year and a half or so.
And I'm Stephanie Egger. I'm the other part of this team. I have a background in civil engineering, and I have a recent master's degree from the USC Building Science program.
And also in the room with us, just as an FYI, is Toshi Woodenberg, who's been our intern over the summer. He's from the University of Oregon. So what is the Autodesk Building Performance Analysis Certificate Program? It's an online educational program that teaches building science fundamentals using Autodesk Building Performance Analysis tools. The hope is that it's going to help folks that go through it acquire new job skills, learn new tools, improve their designs, apply these techniques to their projects, and supplement their coursework. And you as instructors can use this as a way to supplement your courses. So first we want to talk a little bit about the need for education on building performance analysis. Our goal is to make it accessible to learn the skills required to drive an industry-wide transition to performance-based sustainable design. And it will be a transition. We see a lot of room for improvement in how building performance analysis is done. It's often from a lack of basic understanding of building science. We want to improve the quality of the analysis and therefore the value of the tools that we make and the value of those tools to you in your design process. It's not the tools you've got, it's how you use them. Autodesk has been really focused on trying to make building performance analysis tools easier and more accessible, but there's also a risk and a danger in that because it's really easy for people to press buttons, look at colors, see results, but then if they don't know what the inputs are or how to make sense of the outputs, then it doesn't really help. So we see a lot of work like this where it's just, I press buttons, I looked at colors, and I thought that was really cool, but I didn't really know what to do with it. Now we want to move towards analysis in which you're using the data to support design decisions. Sometimes that's in basically you're understanding the data and understanding how to dive into it and how to make decisions based on it and how one type of analysis relates to another. And what we're seeing is that a lot of folks aren't really taught how to do this. Architecture students don't learn enough building science and analysis often. Some programs are better than others. Many engineering students don't learn about buildings. This was true for myself. I studied mechanical engineering, and we didn't talk about buildings at all. And the fact, mechanical engineers are the MEP engineers that are making really important decisions around building energy use, and at an undergraduate level, at least in the United States, it's not really covered. And professionals are being asked to use new tools and processes. So we think that we've created a program that's going to really help. We hear things like, for hiring, it's now a core competency to be able to predict and assess building performance. And we're hearing that not enough people have those skills. This is from a survey that AIA did last year. 56% of architecture firms are having difficulty finding employees with adequate green skills. And sort of the tragedy inherent in this is that the students actually want to learn this stuff. And so we hear things like, oh, we don't have a class in these programs. I really appreciated this course because I could learn it on my own time. Okay, so content covered. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's covered in the course, and then we'll show you the course and show you how you can use the course. So there are 8 modules in the BPA certificate course, and they're sort of chosen to correspond with the features of the software and enable holistic analysis. So there's an introduction module, there's a module on climate and weather analysis, energy literacy and building loads, sun and shadow studies, solar radiation analysis, whole building energy analysis, wind and airflow analysis, and daylighting. These modules can be done in any order. They're put in this order because it's sort of the order that we recommend. They build on each other lightly, but they're not. There are no prerequisites. The software that's covered is Autodesk Revit, Autodesk Vasari, and Autodesk Green Building Studio. And the content of the course is largely drawn from the Autodesk Sustainability Workshop website, though it draws from other sources too. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of that website. So this website is, log out of my admin, so you don't, okay, so this is what it will look like for you. There's a section on building design, there's a section on product design. This is obviously related to building design, and it's designed with 3 main pillars. One is concepts, and these are things that are software agnostic. These are the fundamentals. So climate analysis, what is a building envelope, how does heat transfer and flow in a building. And we have a series of reference articles on these topics. And then those reference articles are linked to the software, so you can try it in the software. And so there's sort of 3 pillars. There's the software specific content. There's the concept, which is the fundamentals, and then there's examples, both from student work and from professional work. And so this is a lot of the content that the course is based on this website, and what the course does is it puts it in a logical order for you so that you have a playlist, and it also gives you quizzes and tests based on that material. Okay, get back here. So some of you may be newer than others to Autodesk software, so I wanted to give a quick overview. Some of you know, Autodesk historically has been known for AutoCAD. This course does not cover AutoCAD. It covers building information modeling, which the product that Autodesk makes, that's the sort of the hero product for building information modeling, is called Revit. And basically it allows you to use one model to do lots and lots of different things. Visualize it, document it, detail it, do conceptual design, detailed design, and to analyze it. So in this course, we're basically covering the intersection between analysis and design. So Revit and Vasari are related products. Vasari, in a lot of ways, is a stripped-down version of Revit that has the conceptual modeling capabilities of Revit. So this here is a conceptual modeler. You don't see detailed buildings with exactly what the windows and the doors are going to look like, et cetera. And Vasari adds some additional analysis capabilities. And so you sort of see here, you can do some energy analysis, you can do solar radiation analysis, get some wind data, simulate airflow around a building site. So Revit and Vasari are sort of the anchor products for this course. But Green Building Studio is a really powerful program that's powering actually both of those behind the scenes. And that's the engine for whole building energy analysis that Autodesk has. And it's based on the DO2 whole building energy analysis engine. And so sort of the way that it works, you can sort of see in this little infographic, is whether your design geometry is coming from Revit, Vasari, or some other third-party tool, it can get passed through GBXML to Green Building Studio, and that's where the energy analysis happens. I wanted to quickly show you guys some new features for energy analysis in Revit. Basically, in the past several months, it's gotten a lot easier to create valid energy models from detailed design geometry in Revit. Basically, with the click of one button, you can generate an energy analysis model. And then when you simulate that model, it's going to give you a lot richer information than we've ever been able to show at once in the past. I'm going to show this video here. Hopefully it will come through. I'll do a little bit of a voiceover, but here you can see this is a detailed Revit model, so you are seeing the windows and the shades and the curtain walls. Basically with the click of one button, which I think you may have just missed, I missed it, but they created an energy analysis model from that geometry, and when they click Simulate in Revit, this is actually Green Building Studio on the right-hand side here. And what you can see, it automatically generated about 40 extra runs. And what it's doing is changing a bunch of parameters. Like, what if I use better windows or worse windows, or higher insulation walls or lower insulation walls? What if I change the orientation? And then it's simulating all of those at once in the cloud. And then it passes the results back to Revit, and it creates this potential energy savings chart. So
Adam, are these features available in the newest Revit 2014?
Absolutely, yeah. They're all. If you use Revit 2014 now, this is the process, and this is covered in the course. Okay. So whole building energy analysis is sort of is a really important part of the course, and energy literacy along with that. It allows you to keep score of any sort of design changes that you make, but the course also includes like what we're calling design studies, which are more isolated types of analysis like solar radiation or airflow. And when you do those things in combination, they actually become a lot more powerful. So we're not going to talk about this, but this is, basically the point here is that we're trying to present a whole workflow for how to use the products in the best way to get the best results from your analysis and have the best outcomes from it. And so we're covering Revit, Green Building Studio, Vasari throughout the design process. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how the course works. So it's a self-paced, free online course. As a student, you can track your progress on quizzes and content on one platform. We're going to give you a tour of that platform in a minute. We've been piloting this program for the past year. About 700 students have taken it so far, and 20 educators have been involved. We've done a lot of work over the summer to improve it based on feedback, and the course that we'll be launching with tomorrow is substantially different, and the experience is hopefully going to be a lot better. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the things that we've improved. One is that we've structured the course with a clearer course outline. So this is the outline for just one of those 8 modules. And one of the things that it used to be sort of larger tests that, and we've basically broken it up into smaller chunks so that as a student you can sit down for 15 minutes, make progress, and come back to it later. And and all of those things build on each other. An additional thing that we did was we made a clear section on the intro to the software within each of these modules. And the way that that is done within the course is through these little playlist widgets. So as you go through the course, we sort of present to you, we give you some fundamentals, we pause, and those fundamentals give you enough context to understand why, what the software is calculating, why it might be doing what it's doing. Then we teach you the software with one playlist. It's sort of the basics, getting started. This is what you need to pass the software exercises in the lesson, and then an optional deeper dive. And you can always refer back to that material. And that material comes from both YouTube videos as well as product documentation, and has some tips along there that we've added so that in places where people commonly get tripped up. We've also tried to add more case studies and examples to the course this time around. So each of the modules uses an example as we go through to sort of make the learning more applicable. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, who's going to give you a tour of the learning management system so you guys can see it live, see what it looks like.
All right, so tomorrow we'll be releasing the login link for the LMS system, and we'll show you guys how you can sign up for this and kind of get ready. In the end of this presentation, Adam will start to cover what the next steps are if you decide you'd like to use this for you and your students. So right now I'm going to log in and kind of show you what it's going to look like as a student view. It's going to look pretty much, I can also show you guys a professor view at the end. One of the features that we have in this learning management system is that, if you decide to do this with your students, you'll be able to track their progress and their scores. So we're going to log in as a student right now. And so this is kind of their home landing screen that they'll see. We can see the course is the BPAC course, and these are all the lessons that are included in that. So these are all the modules that we saw. So really, you can just start clicking on these, going through. This on the side is showing their progress through each lesson. So obviously, in order to earn the certificate, you need to pass all the quizzes and review all the content for each lesson. And this sidebar is showing them how far. So let's take a look into energy literacy and building loads. This is a really important fundamental lesson that we built up. So you can see once you come into that, you can drop down these and see what's involved in each lesson. These were, when we saw the syllabus, these were the arrow humps that were for each one. So we can start with the introduction. I've already gone through this lesson a little bit, but we can start back at the beginning and review. So we see kind of a little introduction. Again, we see this. We can expand it and see exactly what we're going to be doing when. We also have how much time we're anticipating that the students will spend in each section. So from up here, this blue arrow up here, or we can scroll down to the bottom of the page, we can literally move through the module. And again, we see this drop down over here of how far we are, where we are in the progress. So here's a bit about a case study. We can move on to the next page about heat transfer fundamentals. And again, here's a tie back to the case study. We've really tried to use case studies to tell the story through the whole lesson. So now let's skip ahead. That's another thing. Adam mentioned you can do these modules in any order you want. You can also take these quizzes in any order you want. So we can kind of click down to glazing properties, see what's going on there. This is an embed. This is directly from our sustainability workshop site. So you don't even have to be in the LMS to access this content. You only need to be in the LMS to take the quizzes. So even after your students complete the program, they'll still have access to all this information, all these articles, and help videos. Let's look at what a quiz is like. So let's take the heat transfer quiz. So we have a bunch of little quizzes, five questions each, passing rate of 70%, but obviously they need to get 4 out of 5 in order to pass. And these are just kind of, rapid fire. Do they understand the fundamental concepts that we just went through in this list? So we can see they're a mix of multiple choice, select all, true and false. There's some fill in the blank. And there's also some matching and drop downs. And so when your student's done, you just press submit test. I didn't complete number 4, but I'll just go on with it. All right, surprisingly, I didn't pass because I didn't really read any of the questions, but they have the opportunity to redo the test. You have an unlimited amount of redos, and you will never, you'll never be given the right answer. So that's kind of how we built it in. So we give them unlimited tries, and we do give them hints. So let's do this again, submit. Yes, I'm sure. And so let's try looking here to find the right answer. So we didn't work the first time. We can open this link. Okay, so there's a good chance that we'll find the answer here. So it's just kind of providing support and helping them to, if they don't get it right the first time around, providing support until they can get it without having to give them the right answer. So let's look at let's look at some software stuff now. So these are the software intros. We saw these are a unique part in each lesson. So we always give them a practice model that your students can download and just kind of play around with, get familiar with using the program. We also have these playlists that students can work through. And so these playlists are a mix of text information on how to do a process in the software, in addition to videos of how to do things in the software. And again, these are all available on the Standardly Workshop, on the Vasari and Revit help pages, as well as on YouTube. So again, all these resources are available outside of the LMS after your students complete the program. These playlists also include little tips, best practices, things for successful energy analysis. So that's what the quizzes look like. I can show you one more, what a software exercise would look like. It's very similar to a quiz. The only difference is here you have your data set that you need to download. And you'll download that, and then you'll proceed to the test. Follow the instructions. The challenge of writing a software exercise is how do you make it gradable, but also have students come away with new knowledge and an understanding. So we've worked really hard to make these software exercises, give students enough guidance so we know they'll get the right answer, but also leave room for interpretation. Not just what answer did you get, but what does that answer mean? And that's kind of the whole focus of BPAC. So that's the student tour. I can quickly switch to what an educator view would look like. It's very similar. The only other new option is you have a report option, and it's through this option that you'll be able to report on your students. You'll be able to report whether or not they completed the course, what their scores were, how they're doing, and all this stuff is fully documented on our website for students and for you, the educators, on how to do these processes and how to report on students, how to best navigate the content. You'll see down here, send an email to the administrator. This is something really important. The helpline, we're always here to help. bpac@autodesk.com is really, you can email us through the system. You can email us on your own. We're here to support you through all of this stuff. So that's the tour. I'm going to turn it back to Adam now, and he's going to continue telling you a little bit about the program and what the next steps are.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. All right, so time investment and support involved. So the course will take about 25 hours for your students. That's based on feedback that we've gotten from students in the previous round. That does depend on experience. If you have no experience in the software or with these topics, then it's likely to take longer time. If you have a lot of experience, it can take a lot less time too. So so it really depends. Registration is going to be available tomorrow. Someone asked in the chat window how much modeling experience was required. I typed a quick answer there, but the short answer is modeling isn't the focus of the course. Modeling experience isn't required. The more important thing is analysis based on models that we're going to be providing. That said, there's a playlist that has modeling fundamentals in the introduction section that students who are new to the software can get oriented pretty quickly. And yeah, so hopefully it's accessible to people from all experience levels. So I wanted to quickly talk about some complementary programs. So this is the BPA certificate course is one part of a synergistic ecosystem of educational programs that we're continuing to build. One is academic research relationships with folks that are using our tools in extreme ways, or in some cases doing API development on top of them. We have an Excellence in Analysis Awards program that allows students to submit their projects, and then we award these awards, and then those projects get featured in the project gallery on that sustainability workshop website that I was showing you, and then that helps build the database of good analysis examples, which often is really important when you're someone who's new and trying to do this work, is seeing how other people have done it. We also have a design competition, which is something that I want to take a minute to tell you about. We've partnered with the AIAS and also with Architecture 2030 to create a design competition that we're calling Transformation 2030. The URL for it is right here. The registration deadline is in January, but the deadline for submittal is not until April. And it's, again, synergistic with the BPA certificate course. Completing the BPA certificate course is a prerequisite for entering the competition. The site that we're using for the competition, we've partnered with the Majora Carter Group in New York City, and it's an urban infill site in the South Bronx that is part of it's sort of in a food desert, but ironically enough, right next door is basically one of the largest food distribution hubs in the country. So it's going to be a fresh foods market at the site of an old juvenile detention center in the South Bronx. So it's a pretty cool opportunity. So entering that design competition, as I said, completing the BPA certificate is a prerequisite, and we're also working with Architecture 2030, and we've incorporated their new website called the 2030 Palette into the competition as well. So there's some submission requirements based on that, and that's a great resource if you haven't seen it yet. In a lot of ways, very synergistic with the work that we're doing, and so we're working together with them. All right, so let's talk a little bit. Stephanie showed you a little bit about the tools for instructors, but we've designed this course so that students can take it on their own, regardless of whether it's assigned for a class. But we've also designed it very importantly so that you as educators can give it to your students and have it be part of a course, either as extra credit or a mandatory part of course. And it's appropriate to sort of graft onto either a sustainable design course where you might not dive as deeply into the tools involved with analysis. Also grafting onto a BIM course where you might not get into analysis and you're focusing more on modeling. It's a great companion to studio projects as well, and we've seen some educators actually just structure an independent study course based on it, where they're providing help and guidance as the students work through this material on their own, and then often creating a design project that goes alongside of it. So your students will self-register, but they will get a unique access key from you. And then that creates a separate sandbox where if you have 20 students in your class, for example, those 20 students are part of one instance of this course, and you as an instructor will be able to have reporting visibility into how your students are doing. So you can view your students' progress both at sort of a high level and sort of the whole course, how are they doing, and also drill down by students. Help and documentation is available. This is the URL here where we have basically an instructor's guide. And there's also a helpline, so you can email us at bpac@autodesk.com. Some tips we've heard from other educators. One is give students enough time to finish before finals. So don't set it up to overlap with finals. Suggest or require progress throughout the semester. Students have a tendency to procrastinate otherwise, and if they're trying to do this in the period of 2 days, it gets overwhelming. And be available to help students, but don't hesitate to send them to us. Okay. Are there some questions on the line that we should address? Or? Okay. All right. So, so next steps. So if you're on this call, we'll send you an email tomorrow with the exact instructions and links. And sort of the group of people on this call could be the first people to sign up. But you as educators have sort of a special process. So we actually just go to that real quick and we'll back up. So you guys need to register through us, and we're about to tell you how. It's important that your students register with the access key that we provide you. Otherwise, they'll be in there with all the other students, and you won't have visibility into it. And basically, you provide the key. We provide the key to you. You provide the key to your students. And the way to do that is basically just sending us an email. And if you go to the main BPA certificate website, which is there in red, you can click there and you can email us, and it'll pop up an email with some of this required information around first name, last name, basically information about you so that we know how to get in touch and that we know how many students to expect. And you can go ahead and do that. If you're interested in using this course, you can go ahead and do that now. But we won't send you the key until tomorrow. All right, let me back up here. So this is the process for students, which is documented on the website. There's no expiration for the course, but accounts are terminated if they're inactive for 3 months. And it's also worth noting that three of these 8 modules are going to be released after the launch date, and they'll become active once they're available, and an announcement will be sent. Those 3 modules are solar radiation, airflow, and lighting and daylighting. Okay. Yeah, so what we'll give you is that unique access key, a handout for your students, a PowerPoint presentation that's really quick that you can present in your class to sort of tell them what this is all about. And that helpline is also accessible to your students if they're having issues. Okay, some last words is that as I mentioned before, we've been piloting this program for about a year. Throughout that process, we've been really focused on continuous improvement and being open with the educators and the students that are part of the program, and we plan to keep that up even after the launch. So don't hesitate to be in touch and help us improve. Okay. What questions are there?
So we had a really good question. So a professor wants to know if they can use the content to write a formal course in their course catalog at their university. Are there kind of copyright issues, or what's the deal with that?
Yes, you can use the content to write a formal course, and we encourage you to do that. Autodesk's rights to content is changing for the better and becoming more open. So, and I don't know how much of this has been announced yet, but basically all of this will be under Creative Commons license. So use it, but just attribute it to Autodesk, and you're good to go.
All right. So the burning question, I know a lot of people are waiting to ask and want to know what the answer is. Ecotech is not mentioned.
Ah.
Okay. So what's the story with Ecotech specifically around daylighting analysis?
Okay. So when it comes to future product announcements and things, my hands are kind of tied with what I can and can't say. Those of you who've been following these tools for a while will have noticed that Ecotech hasn't had a release in a couple of years. And there's been a lot of activity recently on the Revit platform and with Green Building Studio. So basically, it's fair to say that those are the platforms that Autodesk is investing in, and the ones that we feel are going to be the more important skills for students to learn. And that's why we've included that in the course. Actually, the previous iteration of the course did include Ecotech, and we've taken it out partially because it's easier for students to not have to try to learn Ecotech at the same time they're trying to learn Revit and Vasari, because the modeling conventions are very different, and modeling in Ecotech is tricky. Can be tricky unless unless you're very practiced in it. So yeah, so I think that's the people here that are building the BPA certificate course. We have a lot of respect for Ecotech as a tool that's really a great educational tool, and but we want to make sure that we're not teaching Ecotech at the expense of teaching tools like Revit and Green Building Studio, which are the tools that Autodesk is more actively pushing into the industry.
And another question about some Autodesk tools that might not be featured in this BPAC. What about CFD?
Okay. So simulation CFD is not a part of the course. Computational fluid dynamics is a hot topic these days, but it's also sort of a level of complexity higher than what's sort of covered on the course. It's basically a PhD thesis topic at this point, and that's true in industry too. Like the people that are using CFD, it's really involved. We do have lightweight CFD via our wind and airflow analysis, and that's going to be using hopefully Autodesk Project Falcon, which integrates into Revit. Right now, Vasari has some lightweight CFD tools that are accessible and easy to use and sort of get some good insights from. That's what the course is based on, and sort of the next iteration of those tools is what will be the content will be based on when that module is released.
All right, we have another great question that applies to a lot of people. Is the certificate a one-time thing, or is there an update on a yearly cycle? What's the timeline? What's the schedule with BPAC, and how it's going to change?
The certificate, the content in the certificate program will be updated continuously, and that was a really important design principle as we're building out this infrastructure, because the tools change all the time, and we wanted to make this a sort of a stable force amidst all that change. So if you want to see the tools that Autodesk recommends to do the type of analysis, you can always come back to this course. So basically, we don't have it up on our website now, but we will soon, sort of showing what the BPA certificate was in this pilot round, like what it covered and what it covers in version 1, and when we release version 1.5 or version 2, you'll sort of be able to see that evolution. Yeah, so it will be updated, and when that update happens, like when you register for the course as a new student or a new educator, then those updates will will apply to you once you create that new instance of the course.
Are there any deadlines for registration, Adam?
No, it's rolling. That's part of the beauty of, I guess, the system that we set up is, if you register for the course, you can take it whenever is most appropriate for you. You won't be booted out of the course until you finish it. If updates to the course happen while you're in the course, you won't get those updates unless you sort of restart the course with those updates.
And I just want to mention also that this session plus the one afterwards for students, both of them are going to be recorded, and we'll be posting these. So you can watch them later. You can have your students watch them later when you're ready for them to be in the course. So these info sessions are going to be available to you guys shortly after we finish recording these, and we can post them up. And do you think how do you feel about the student webinar, Adam? Do you think it's, would you recommend it for some of these professors who want their students to go through the program?
Yeah, I mean, the student webinar is this afternoon in a couple hours. We're not going to cover, it's going to be largely the same content that we've covered here, but we're not going to cover the part that is more specific to you in terms of getting the access key and the reporting that you guys can do on your students. So I think that if your students are interested in doing this program, I think that they'll enjoy the webinar and they'll have a chance to ask us questions directly. So yeah, I'd encourage your students to come. And
in terms of supporting material, we're going to be giving out handouts and a PowerPoint that's similar to the student presentation that the professors can use in their classroom.
Yeah, it'll be a shorter version of, sort of a much shorter version of what we've gone through here. Just like basically 5 slides where you can say, here's what this program is, here's how it works, here's the key that you all should use for this class.
Great. So we're getting a lot of questions about the SARI in terms of it maybe not working on certain people's machines, and kind of questions about validation and how to use it. So I think it's a good part to mention at this point. The Vasari, I think, let me check what the URL is directly, autodeskvasari.com. I just kind of, again, this is something that we really point to in all of our documentation. AutoDeskVasari.com is actually really great and helpful, especially the forums. Unfortunately, Adam and I don't always have all the back-end knowledge of things running on your system. We can help you, I think, as much as we can and point you in the right direction. And if you're having specific problems with Vasari, I know the team is really responsive, especially on posting in the forum. And if you want to access their help, they're really great. If you're having problems with Vasari running on your machines or your school labs, whatever it is.
Yeah, so Stephanie and I are available for sort of questions around the analysis aspects of it. When it gets to questions around installs of software and things not working on machines, we can sort of help triage those, but the main route for that is through the support channel, which is linked through the course. So if your students are having trouble, the link is there for them. Any other questions?
So in short, how many tools are they going to be learning? How many students will those students be learning individually, or are they all kind of integrated as BIM?
They're all, from a student standpoint, it's sort of, it appears like 1.5 tools, basically. It's a Revit-based building performance analysis, and Vasari being sort of a lighter version of Revit. And the Green Building Studio analysis is happening in the background in the cloud. We explain how that works, and we let people sort of get into the website cloud platform of it. But it's mostly based in Revit, so that so Revit's sort of the big tool, and then there's whole building energy analysis under that. And then when you get into the Vasari design studies around solar radiation and airflow analysis, those are sub-tools with the main BIM tool.
So when students earn their certificate, what do they get?
So they get a certificate. They also get their name on. We have an online roster of all the students who have completed the certificate. And, the hope is that that this becomes the kind of thing that they can put on their resume, and that is a differentiating point for them when they interview for jobs. So we wanted to have that up there so that employers could sort of see who's validated they've taken it, and yeah, I mean we don't have like a job board for BPA certificate students at this point, but that's the kind of thing that down the road we might look into doing, or creating a LinkedIn group for people that have passed the BPA certificate, things like that.
They'll also get a digital badge they can use in their signature.
Exactly. Yeah, so we'll send them a little image that sort of says Building Performance Analysis certificate.
And the certificate is a PDF download with their name and completion date and the version of BPAC they've completed. Do you think would you prefer students to work through an educator or on their own working through the course? Like, should they sign up with an educator or should they sign up on their own?
I mean, it depends on the situation. If it's we prefer if it's going to be a course that if you're going to sort of make this an extra credit for your course or make it a mandatory portion of your course, we'd like the students to go through your course, through a separate instance, so that we can keep track of who's using it. But if it's really like the student is totally on their own, then it's more appropriate for them to sign up as an independent student.
I'd also like to note that, if they sign up through an educator, that's also, building a relationship with Adam and I and Autodesk. One of the questions is about, is it possible to partner your university with Autodesk? If your students kind of sign up independently, it's harder for us to track them and kind of monitor them. But, if partnering or working with Autodesk is something you would like to do in the future, definitely sign up for this course and have your students go through your educator group, because you're able to have kind of smaller one-on-one conversations with Adam and I, and we can get to know about your research and what you're interested in, and you can help us with formulate BPAC. Oh, we have a good question, Adam. Okay. So this one comes from Pakistan. None of the buildings in Pakistan are designed for performance, but it's soon going to be the law. How should he phrase it to his students to attract them to adopt this new idea and this BPAC? What's the selling point to students?
Well, yeah, so just the fact that it's going to be a law, like that's an indication of future direction, right? So these are the skills that are going to be required by industry. Like, if you don't know how to design buildings to be energy efficient, you're not going to be able to design buildings that are legal. So, that's a pretty clear endorsement.
And kind of what about, is this course a good fit for high school students learning Revit?
It may get into deeper physics than some high school students have gotten, but it's, we've tried to make it pretty broadly accessible. So, a high school student that's like self-motivated and really are interested in these topics, it's accessible to them, and I think that they will enjoy it and get a lot out of it.
Jeremy Farner is wondering how long BPAC will be a free course, and if at any point in the future he'll have to pay to incorporate it into his class.
We plan to make it free for as long as we can. Yeah, there's no plans to make it a paid course at this point.
So we have some questions about professionals and maybe how if professionals want to utilize this course, and what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so this course has been designed for students in that it's a pretty big chunk. It's like 25 hours is often more time than a professional has at once for continuing education. So we are going to create some professional specific continuing education courses, which is going to be based on a lot of the same material, but broken into smaller chunks so that you can, like, in 3 hours get 3 CEUs for LEAD or AIA or whatever it is that's relevant to you, and also that go deeper in some certain areas. Yeah, that's awesome.
And will the professional CEUs be free as well?
Yes.
So can we run through the process again? So it's what's going to happen after this call. If educators, if they want to be involved, maybe they've already signed up on the website, maybe they haven't. Let's just review what are the next steps that are going to happen.
So we will send you an email.
Everyone who's on the call.
Everyone who's on the call with exact instructions for how to get your course signed up. If you want to be proactive, and you can do this right now, you can go to this website, sustainabilityworkshop.com/BPAC, click on that email link, and then provide us the information that's here on the right. And this is all, well, actually I'll just go to the live site and show you. So here's the main BPA certificate page. Click on this email link. Oh, it's going to open my Outlook. It will open up your email program, and the information that you need. If you want to sort of see what's involved, you can go to this over here, how to register, explains how to register. You can go to this educator's guide, and this is the information that we need. And that's going to actually pop up here. So that's the email that it generates. So just send us an email with the following answering the following questions, and we will respond to you via email with a key. You can give your students that key, and then they can sign up for the course via the process that Stephanie previewed. Is that clear, Stephanie?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of professors who may have already shot us an email or may have already signed up. The key is, you're on this call, so we're going to be contacting you anyways.
Yeah. So the platform hasn't been ready until this week, and now that it is ready, it's going to be a pretty fluid process where we can be issuing keys and having things set up.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be getting, if you decide to register, tomorrow we'll get to you with your login, your registration key for your students, and all of that will be active.
Any other questions?
It looks like we're good. We had a lot of good questions and points that were covered.
Great. Well, we hope you guys are excited about this program. We're really excited about it. It was a lot of fun to put together. It's challenging, but it's been a great experience for us, and we really hope that it's a great experience for you and for your students. So look forward to being in touch, and thanks so much for joining the call.